Toxic relationships. Do you know when to walk away? Or are you turning the other cheek until your head spins? Whether in the workplace, in your family, or in your circle of friends, we all have toxic relationships. Some will get better, others not. Do you know what to do? Good evening. Welcome to Salmon Thoughts, where we challenge the status quo and we go against the flow. Tonight, we're talking about toxic relationships. And it's a topic that we all know a little something about because we all encounter toxic relationships um, every so often in our lives. Some of us are stuck in a toxic relationship of whatever kind right now, and that's why you are watching this video. And I hope that tonight will give some light uh, and will help you because toxic relationships, it's a terrible thing. It's painful and it's destructive. And we should do the very best we can to respond with great wisdom. Now, um, I want to uh, show you a picture about toxic relationships. I hope you can see this is an apple. You see it's an apple. Uh, I picked this one because it uh, shows the core of the apple, and that's actually what I want to get to. Apple is a very healthy thing. I mean, it keeps the doctor from being able to afford a second beach house. Apple is a very healthy thing. But the seed of an apple, there in the core, has a small quantity of toxin, of arsenic in it. And I know many people eat the core of apples. I think they're just too lazy to get up and go and throw it away in the dustbin. But they eat the core of the apples, and it doesn't do them any harm because the quantity of arsenic in the seed of an apple is just too little to do any real harm. It's way worse for your dog. So don't feed your dog. My apologies. I have a bad cough, and I might have to make a plan here and there and play you some music in between. But story about the apples. If you eat about 200 apples, some say about 500 apples in a very short time, the poison will get to you. In some relationships, there's some pain in it. There's a measure of toxicity in it, and uh, it's uh, it's not perfect. All relationships, all friendships, not perfect. And there's a fight, there's some pain, but it's not at the level where you have to run away from it. And I don't want to cause tonight that you destroy relationships that's good, that's that actually there's a lot of hope for, and that's actually doing more good than causing pain. We need to understand that there's a level of toxicity that makes this relationship a toxic relationship. And when we understand that we are at that level, then we know we need to do something about this. Now, just to define toxic relationships, firstly, it's when two people are stuck in a way of relating that's poisoning them both. Often, Mostly, actually, in my experience, a toxic relationship doesn't just go one way. It's not you are this perfect person in relationship with this evil person and therefore it's toxic. It's just that there's a pattern in how you relate to one another that makes your relationship toxic. Your relationships with other people, not toxic. Their relationship with other people, not toxic. But the two of you, very toxic. And you're stuck in this pattern and you can't get out of them. It's poisoning the both of you. Or it's a relationship that makes you feel worse about yourself with every interaction. That's a toxic relationship. And we need to understand that uh, relationships is at the core of our existence. It's at the core of our happiness. It's at the core of any joy that you experience in this life. Uh, no success in any field, in any area, can replace the joy of healthy relationships. And toxic relationships cause precisely the opposite of that. Uh, so there are different types of relationships. Romantic, and I'm going to include marriage in this. So you're dating somebody, you're in a romantic relationship, or you're married to somebody, and let's just separate those two. If you're dating somebody and it's a toxic relationship, you need to get out. I actually want to say get help or get out. But if you're dating and this has not been a very long relationship and it's toxic, I just want to say get out. Get out. Jesus sends 70 of his disciples, two by two, to go and preach, to go and speak to people. And he tells them to do this. When you are welcomed into somebody's house, you bless this house. And you say, peace be unto this house. If they don't welcome you, if they don't receive what you have to say, then you shake the dust from your feet and you walk away. And what I understand from that when we apply it to relationships is if it's toxic, if it doesn't work, get out early. The earlier you get out, the less pain you will experience. So when somebody is dating and everyone is putting their best foot forward and we're trying our best to impress one another and it becomes toxic in that period, get out, get out. But when you're married, that's very different, hey. And when um, you are when you have children together, that becomes a very different situation. The Bible says God hates divorce, and I think He hates divorce because He understands how much pain divorce causes. That's why He hates divorce. But you need to understand, if you've been divorced, if you're contemplating divorce, God does not hate divorcees. It's so important that you get that. He does not hate divorcees. He hates this thing that causes so much pain. And if you were to get divorced, it's going to cause a whole lot of pain. And here's the bottom line. If you have children together, divorce is not the end. That person is part of your life for the rest of your life. It will never change. It doesn't go away. So it's better to fix it. If there's any possibility to fix it, that's a possibility that needs to be investigated. So get help. And you know why I say this? Married people don't get help. They often speak, we must go for counseling. The wife says we must go for counseling, mostly. Or the husband offers counseling while not meaning it. That's a generalization. But if you're in a toxic relationship and you're married to one another, it is time to get help. It is time to get help. It is your best option. It really is. And don't hide it away. Don't pretend that everything is okay. Uh, get help. Get help immediately. Uh, then we have oftentimes toxic relationships in our family. Now, I have a perfect family, wide family, close family. They're all perfect. There's no toxic relationships in my family. I don't know if any of them's watching, um, but yeah, I'm not thinking of anyone in specifically when I say this. But in every other family except mine, there are toxic relationships, and it's a challenge because you did not choose your family, and you can't just walk away from your family, can you? They're family. They, they're part of your life. And it gets very difficult to manage toxic relationships. And sometimes people will go further. They will mess up more in family relationships because they know it cannot end. And they'll be less careful. They'll be less inclined to sort it out or to get help. Have you ever heard of two brothers going for counseling or two cousins going for counseling? It's not something that happens, and but we have toxic relationships in our family, and it's complicated because it's not going to change. My apologies again. Uh, then we have toxic relationships with our co-workers, and once again, it's a relationship that we've been forced into, and just going to toxic relationships with co-workers is a relationship often that we are forced into, and it's complicated at the workplace because there's all kinds of agendas at stake. There's personal ambition. There's people who are very different from you, but you are forced to work together, and it leads to all kinds of enmity and to toxic relationships. And um, we struggle to deal with that. We struggle to deal with that because uh, we are forced into this, and we hope somebody gets transferred or fired, or you looking for another job. But there's a simple solution, and I'm this is a very complicated situation. All these relationships and the measure of toxicity in each one of them, we can really complicate this by saying, in this situation you do this, in that situation you do that. Um, we can spend all night, we can spend all week looking at different types of situations. And sometimes, we think it's toxic because there's been a fight, but it's actually the fight is leading to something better. Um, but where there's a relationship that has that level of toxicity where it's harmful, then we need to do something about it. And I want to give you a piece of advice from the Bible that it's very broad. You can apply it to every situation, every relationship, but it works great at the workplace. It's awesome at the workplace. Um, it's these words from Proverbs: a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. Apply this. at the workplace, wherever, but at the workplace. A gentle answer deflects anger. Don't don't hit back. Don't return the insult. Don't respond in kind. Keep the answers gentle. It will deflect the anger, and you might never be best of friends, but it will cause your relationship to be better. Um, and then there's another piece of advice that applies to uh, every relationship. So we have a total of 20 minutes. Maybe with all the coughing tonight, we have a little bit more than that. But here's a piece of advice that you can apply to every relationship. It's complicated. There's no cookie cutter recipe. There's no simple solution. But you cannot stay in a toxic relationship. You cannot stay in a toxic relationship. Here's what the Bible says. It says it several times, and I took the one that said it short and straight to the point. Wisdom will save you from evil people, from those whose words are twisted. Wisdom, can I translate it in our context tonight? Wisdom will save you from toxic relationships. In every toxic relationship that you get into, you need wisdom, because what worked in a previous friendship, in a previous situation, will not work in this one. People are just too diverse. There's too many variables. Wisdom will save you from toxic relationships. And here's how we get wisdom. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and He will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. If you need wisdom, if you need wisdom, if you need wisdom, if you're in a toxic relationship, you need wisdom. Ask our generous God, and He will give it to you. Ask, 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 and He will give it to you. It's so important that we do that tonight. Whatever situation you're in, um, whatever pain you are carrying because of a toxic relationship, you need to ask for wisdom, because there's a key to unlocking this. Mostly, it's as simple as get out or get help. Sometimes an intervention from outside is the whole key to changing things around, or sometimes it's walk away. But other times, there's a there's a simple action. There's a word. There's an insight. There's an understanding that can change things around. We need to pray and ask for wisdom. It's as simple as that. Don't stay in a toxic relationship. Don't stay. And I'm not even talking about abusive relationships. We're not touching on a relationship that rises to that level. That's just a get out. You need to fix your toxic relationships. Pray for wisdom.